Welcome to my YouTube channel, Black Ink. So this is the first episode that I'm having with a guest after my welcome video. Today at my place I have Ayabonga Cawe, a friend of mine from back at home, but some of you might know him as the new Metro FM presenter. So this guy carries a lot of accolades, from social entrepreneur, economist, radio presenter, photographer. What am I forgetting?
That's about it, man.
Yeah? Okay, so let's get into it. So today I just want us to talk about the current state of South Africa.
Yeah.
Just leading up to elections, what does this mean for the youth? What role do we play? And why are these elections so important? Because I don't know, I think that we are not as informed as the youth as we should be about politics, and there's elections coming up. They're so important. So I just want us just to have a chat. It's a conversation. It's not a debate. It's not. No one's hyping up any party or there's no party affiliations. Okay, so let me throw out my first question to you. What do you think is the level of understanding of the current South African politics and its dynamics by the youth?
Look, I think young people are political. By and large, and you see it in the protests that people call service delivery protests, which I think are protests about things much, much bigger. You saw it in Alex, where it was young people that were leading that protest. We saw it with the student movement and Fees Must Fall.
Yes.
If you think about insourcing or outsourcing as an issue, one of the first groups of people that put it in the center of the agenda in South Africa was young people.
Yeah.
So I think the question then becomes, if yes, young people understand it, I certainly think they do. They understand it well enough at times to even reject it, because I think politics, by and large, is not just about elections. Elections are part of a political process. They come once every 5 years, but every single day people are engaged in all forms of politics, in all forms of organization. So I think, yes, young people are engaged, young people are involved. I think the big question for young people is the relevance of party politics. What does party politics and me voting mean for the price of bread? What does it mean for the basic day-to-day things that people are living on? Because that's what young people care about, just like everybody else.
And you mentioned something about protests, that, we have the youth, the leading protest, we have the Fees Must Fall, we have the Alexandra one, we had the roads statue thing going on there as well. We had the one in Cape Town. Do you think that that's the only way that in which us as the youth can voice out our concerns? Is it only through having a protest? Is that the only time that our government actually listens to us and our concerns and our grievances? Is it only when we actually march out and protest?
Look, I don't think people protest often as a first resort. I think sometimes people first raise in the issues that they face with. And protest in many instances becomes a last resort. If you look, for instance, outside of the examples you've cited, protests even in some of the rural areas and even in some of the mining areas, you're seeing a lot of young people in there. It's probably not the young people you're going to see on TV or the kind of young people that you're going to hear in the mainstream platforms, because that kind of young person is a certain kind of young person. And oftentimes the young person who's hyper visible, who's seen by everybody, is the young person who is used sometimes by politicians. We were talking earlier about celebrities and how they use in that process. And the reality of it is, if you look at what kind of celebrity is being used, oftentimes those celebrities fall outside of the experience of people who are protesting every single day.
Exactly. Exactly. And then, in that case, do you then think that they can actually speak? Are they knowledgeable enough about politics?
Politics, everybody is knowledgeable about their own experience, how they live it, and the politics that matter to them.
But I'm a celebrity, I can relate what's going on. Besides, and already, and then that's politics. Politics should not be a fashion statement. And I think that's what it is. It's that, it's a fashion statement. I think, we all know that rumors that influencers, celebrities are being bought by political parties in order to gain votes. So I don't know. If we have that, well, then there's there will be a certain biasness because you are being bought to represent, you know, and are they conveying the correct information to the youth because they have the influence to do that? Are they using it correctly?
Sanesh, the only times the politicians engage with the influencers is either at rallies or during door-to-door or during the election season. And there's a reason for that. Politics happen in between the 5 years of Tinasi vote. Politics happen in between the rallies. But you don't see the celebrities sometimes in those spaces. And of course there are who...
Yeah,
and I think
that now.
Yeah, politics. Some people happen to have gotten fame and esteem but come from political backgrounds. There are those people.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the issue that you are raising is in many ways the commodification of people's brands to serve a political purpose.
Yeah.
Because ANC kazawufika okanye EFF okanye DA okanye IFP ithi come and sing at our rally or come through and associate yourself with us. Come through and sign as we saw at the Rand show, you know. Then it already says that your brand as a particular person, you might be on Uzalo, you might be on Isbaya, is being associated with a certain kind of political message.
Yeah.
I can't be wrong or up. But the big question for me is you need to be quite intentional about aligning it to that political
I was just about to ask
that.
that.
Song is not politics, you know? And our politics might be progressive, our politics might not be progressive, but it's not politics song.
Okay, let me ask you this. Do you think that the current political system is working for or against the youth?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. Look, I mean, the first thing I would say is that, yes, potentially it's working against the youth. If you consider that young people constitute just over 2/3 of the population in South Africa. By and large, we are the biggest segment of the society. Yeah. But if you think about the absence of institutions, formations, organizations that are around government and within government that are aimed at assisting young people, you can see that those things aren't working for us. I often make the example to people, you know, this is my comrade, you know, and I say, for me, what becomes the politics of young people in 2019, right? If you are saying to me you are in this community, and the main issue in this community or substance abuse, right? Why is it that young people there are not organizing for some form of relief centers, care centers, rehabilitation centers to assist in programs like that? You go to our communities, we don't have those kind of things. We haven't even in local government institutionalized the fact that a community cannot exist without having a library, a sports field, all of those things that will allow young people to recreate themselves and to discover and find their potential. So the difficulty for me is that oftentimes because young people, and when I say young people, I'm not talking about 35-year-olds, I'm not talking about 30-year-olds. You know, I'm talking about people who are between the ages of 3 and say 19, who are still forming their identity, who are still forming their character.
Yeah.
And we don't create the kind of lived environment and space for those people to read, to discover themselves and to discover their potential in how we build, just in jail on. And so I think, you know, the system itself, largely because of who's there and in whose interest they govern, has not thought about that kind of thing in the long term. We think it's enough just to give a bandwane feeding scheme in a no-fee school and think that things are going to be fine, you know? Without having a more developmental approach to raising kids as part of a community. Community care centers, community recreational facilities, all of those things. So for me, politics is not about voting and putting a cross. It's about day-to-day organization. What are you building to organize with? It's a form of organizing. It's a form of organizing yourselves to achieve a certain kind of objective. And I think by and large, our communities have become demobilized, and young people, you know, there's so many things that are being used to demobilize us, be it the entertainment, be it, you know, the substances, be it all manner of things that are being placed before us to try and demobilize us from trying to organize our lives and just take charge of our lives.
So as a youth, what do you think that we need to do in order to change the status quo?
Organize in your own space. I mean, you've put this production together.
Yeah.
You've decided and you've said, let me put something in place to organize myself because I feel there's a message I want to put out for people to
Are
see.
you saying we need to be more proactive? Do you feel like we are disengaged? Do you feel as the youth that we are empathetic?
Look, there are sections of youth that are empathetic. There are sections of youth that are heavily mobilized and heavily engaged. I often make the example, Alex.
Yeah.
You would have seen a few weeks after there was the Easter celebrations in the churches, young people are organized. But the big question is, what are you organizing for, right? ZCC has how many million members?
Oh, shucks.
Right?
Everyone.
Those people are organized. But the question is, what are you organizing for? And I think, for me, that is not just the issue of being proactive. It's also an issue of understanding. Understanding who you are, understanding your context. And for that to happen, there needs to be some form of stability. And by and large, in Black life, we don't see that stability. Mm-hmm. You don't see it. And you see that in what we produce in Black life. What people become, the music we produce, the books we produce, or not produce, And I think no politician, just like, people will say, you're never going to win in a boardroom what you can't win on the streets. Similarly, you're not going to, win in a ballot box what you haven't been able to win every single day for 60 months.
I don't know about that one.
Still voting though.
Yes, we're all voting. We're all voting. Do you think that our media in South Africa is independent outside of government?
Who's media now?
Us, the SABC.
This is media. This is media. And I think we need to have a different conversation about media. Fine as mainstream media that reaches X million people every single night, sharp. Generations Yamazgo 8 meets X amount million people, sharp, we're good. But then there's the everyday media. The news and the messages people put out every single day on Facebook.
Are we having the right conversations?
Who says? Right? I'm saying if people can have conversations that are in their own interest, then that's okay. Mama Mandela died for us to be able to have those conversations where we want to have them, when we want to have them.
Yeah.
And it's interesting for me how even the newspapers, the mainstream media, the TV, the radio, the print, often take stories from the social media.
Yes, that's what everyone has been talking about. That's now
the barriers to media have been effectively lowered.
Yeah, now they're getting the content from the social media platforms.
Exactly. And you'll see that like in a print editorial. So I think the world is fluid, it's changing, and I'm saying there are more independent pockets in the media than say 20 years ago.
Okay.
And I appreciate that, I celebrate that. Of course, it's also more dangerous. You've seen what happened with fake news. You've seen Mark Zuckerberg having to answer for regulators, that kind of thing, because, to whom much is given, much is expected. And similarly, there's a big risk when you give people the power to do that, because the interests of people continue to play themselves out.
Yeah.
I mean, if Cambridge Analytica can be said to have stolen an election using Facebook, using bots and whatever, then I don't think we understand the beast that the media is becoming, but also the beast that cyber and digital life of people is becoming.
Do you think that as a country, leading up to elections, that for us, is there a future for coalition to happen amongst our political parties? And do you see it being successful? I mean, you have to take into consideration what happened in the Nelson Mandela Metro, with the marriage that collapsed between the DA and the EFF. So what are your thoughts with regards to that? Because I know that there's something that needs to change within our government.
Look, I mean, 2016 was like, there's a clear reorganization of politics happening at multiple levels of society, right? So 2016 was local government elections. You saw coalitions in the different metros and in the municipalities running stuff, right? Even in the ones, Johannesburg and Pretoria. So, I mean, I definitely think that people are beginning to go to the ballot and say, at a provincial level, I'm voting something that is different to what I vote for at a national level.
Will you be voting this coming election?
Yeah. Now you're voter, man. It's not your only political thing, but I'm a voter.
Why is it important for you to vote? Why are you voting?
For me, I see voting as, if I was a hunter and I had Ingawa that had all of my arrows, voting is one of my arrows. What I do every single day in my life are the other arrows to try and shoot for whatever objective that I'm looking for. And so voting for me is a part of that. It's a part of my contribution to an element of the political project, as much as responding to a petition or going out into the streets and protesting or, having a certain kind of conversation and debate on whatever platform I have access to. All of those things are my activism, are my politics, are the expression of my own ideas and my outlook on life. So yes, and your vote, but also if you decide to vote, it's a political decision. If you decide to spoil your vote, if you decide to say, I am voting. In 2016, in the better ANCs, because many of their own voters said, I'm not waking up and going there. I'm not going to go vote.
Yeah.
That's a political decision.
That's why you have people like Trump occupying the presidency. That's why we need to vote. Guys, I will be voting. Ayabonga will be voting. Will you be voting? Please remember, if you'd like to see more of my videos, please click on the bell icon and you shall get a notification from YouTube each time I drop a video.